This is another thing. Forget the line aside. One of the things I find so objectionable about him is that, I mean, I have never seen someone in public life whose statements, when you transcribe them, are so vacuous. I mean, they're so punishingly without information. I mean, he will repeat the same thing 3 times in a paragraph, and it was meaningless the first time, right? And he's got all of these filler words. In fact, it's just
it's incomprehensible.
And I'm I am willing to make the usual allowances for inarticulateness, and like if we get this conversation transcribed, we will find that both of us speak in a way that on the page looks like bad writing. Right, we're not speaking in totally grammatically complete sentences or paragraphs.
Editor. We're not reading from a script,
and we're kind of there's meandering that happens, and there are clauses embedded in places where you wouldn't want them. But when you look at how Trump speaks, his statements are as empty of content as can possibly be the case ever in politics. Right. And that's married to a kind of a sense of self-importance and a narcissistic concern about the most petty possible things. So, the crowd size, for instance, at his inauguration. You saw his speech to the CIA, right? You saw it.
Yeah.
He looked like somebody who's slightly unhinged.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's focusing on that there, in the way that he was, to the degree that he was, and that was eclipsing everything else he could have usefully said. Right now, you have to think either he's some kind of genius who realizes that works for him in some way.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I mean, I think it's much. I think if I had to bet, I would put the odds 99%.
That he's not savant, media genius.
He is just we're just getting like a person with no impulse control, who hasn't thought anything through, who is deeply uninformed about almost everything you would want him to be informed about, who's bringing people on who are of very mixed quality based on who gets recommended to him and who's loyal enough to be in the role. And he'll get somebody who's seemingly good, someone like Mattis, who is not scaring anyone, but then he'll get Flynn right beside him, who seems far less stable, and all of that's just haphazard. There's no genius behind the curtain, figuring things out in advance. And so I'm worried that he really is just the pure chaos president, and we are just left to. I mean, this is like a pressure testing of our institutions and our norms of government.
We're stress testing what the founding fathers built. Mm-hmm. I was literally talking to somebody the other night. I was like, what exactly is an executive order and how does it work? Because I know that I have an idea of what an executive order is, but it can't override a law, but it's sort of like a generalized instruction. We didn't even open the rule book up here.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a bunch of rules that were set in place, and we assume people are playing by the rules. But I think we're going to have to take a deep look at exactly what each rule and how were they intended to be deployed and why they were created in the spirit of these rules. Because, I mean, it does seem like in week one we're experiencing a level of chaos that, where does this experiment go?
But also, the connection to Russia that is as yet unexplained. I mean, the fact that he has only ever said positive things about Putin, there's no apparent self-interest in that, because how is that good for him during the campaign to have only said good things about Putin? I mean,
a dictator.
It's absolutely bizarre. It's just somebody who jails his political opponents,
right?
Even if they have billions of dollars. Right. I mean, he's just, or he kills journalists. I mean, he's like, this is no friend, of any possible U.S. president, and yet he's only said positive things about him, and this is totally unexplained. And then he had people like Manafort in his orbit, and Tillerson, Tillerson may be a great Secretary of State, but his depth of connection to Russia is also inscrutable. And so it's the fact that all of this is unexplained. I had Gary Kasparov on my podcast.
Who, by the way, is built for Twitter.
Oh yeah, he's built for Twitter, and he's built for this problem. And
right, because I told him on Twitter, I was like, I don't know what you do for a living, but you might be a good strategist.
Yeah.
You might want to consider doing some strategy work.
And
what was his position on?
Well, it was scary just because he had no. It was totally inexplicable from his point of view
couldn't
too.
Figure out this.
It's just like
this opening.
this is. I mean, it would be readily explained by what everyone fears, that Putin or the oligarchs have something on Trump.
The sex tape.
Yeah, or they bailed him out of his bankruptcy, or or he hasn't released his taxes because the depth of his entanglement with Russia would be a deal breaker. So,
but then if that was the case, if they did have the goods on you, or you were deeply embedded with them in terms of financial ties and getting bailed out, you probably wouldn't want to go out and be stumping for them and saying and Putin's a genius, or would you?
Well, he's played
or is he not premeditated?
I don't know. All I can say is that it is flabbergasting that saying only good things about Putin as a Republican, right? I mean, this is the party that believes it won the Cold War for taking such a hard line against the Soviet Union, that seemed to be in his self-interest to do that, right? It would have been so easy for him to have sounded reasonable about Putin without saying anything really adversarial. He could say, well, listen, Putin is clearly not a Democrat. He's done things that we really can't countenance. But if I become president, I'm going to have to find some way to work with him. So let's just see what happens. I mean, he could have said something like that, which would at least have sounded like he's hedging his bets. And
instead he says, this guy's brilliant.
He's brilliant. He's a brilliant leader. He's better than our president. I mean, it's just, these are like treason level endorsements of one
of the few dictators left on the planet.
And somebody who's actually hacking the election, right?
Right.
And releasing, forget about hacking, releasing a tsunami of propaganda that is actually being effective. And so it's I don't know. It's a giant question mark, which the thing that fits into that space that explains everything is scary.
Hey everybody, I want to tell you about a great product which you've probably heard about, but maybe you haven't tried yet, and I have tried it and I love it. It has become a big hit in my household with my 7-year-old daughter. It's called blueapron.com. My wife loves it too. Go to blueapron.com/twist and you'll get your first 3 meals free with free shipping. It is an incredible experience. You get a box. It's obviously refrigerated, and all the ingredients and a beautiful menu card and a recipe card of how to make the product. So I've always wanted to make pizza at home. I've never done it. I mean, I made English muffin pizzas. This is what we call Irish pizza when you're growing up in Brooklyn. But they sent a beautiful pizza dough and beautiful sauce and cheese and everything, all perfectly portion sized and an easy to follow recipe. Then the other thing I've always wanted to learn how to cook is General Tso's chicken. That was one of my favorites when I was in New York and I was living on the West Side in Hell's Kitchen. I'd walk home from the Garden after watching the Knicks win a playoff game. I get General Tso's chicken. I never knew how to make it. They give you all the ingredients, a little cornstarch, so all these little syrups, and you, like a little professional chef, everything just goes smoothly. It is an incredible experience. It's also affordable. You get a ton of variety. It's super flexible. You get the deliveries when you want. And I was just amazed by the quality of the bok choy, of the chicken. Everything was the highest quality. And it saves you not only from going to the supermarket, not only from getting a recipe, but also the portion sizes and how to put this all together. It makes cooking delightful again, and they are in partnership with 150 local U.S. farms, fisheries, ranchers, and they, so I'm a big seafood fan, and we love going to the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And when I went there last time, they had this beautiful card that told you which fishes you should order, which are sustainable, but it's very hard to actually get that certified. People lie when they sell you fish. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know if it's actually sustainable or not. And even some of the stuff that's farm raised is actually not good for the environment. Well, you know what? Blue Apron takes all that away. They do all of that important work for your family. And it's very important to our family that we order sustainable stuff and we don't take stuff from the ocean that's not sustainable. It's a big movement amongst considered people. So the fact that they use the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch list to me and their standards is very impressive. Prep is, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It's super, we did it faster in some cases, but we're fast cooks. It tastes great. It's easy. It's a better way to cook. It is a better way to cook. And also delicious. I made this beautiful Sicilian pizza and my daughter ate it all. It was one of those great experiences where she was looking in the oven, counting the minutes. So blueapron.com/twist, blueapron.com/twist, TWIST, and you'll get your first 3 meals free with free shipping. It is amazing. All right, let's get back to this amazing program.